The Quest Pro is not necessarily considered the best top-end gaming headset, and I'm not here to argue the nuances of whether it is a business or mixed reality device, but what I am here to tell you is that with a bit of tweaking and know-how, it is possible to make it into what my opinion is the best, most fully featured VR setup in the consumer space. And I think it is finally a valid upgrade to the Valve Index, which in my opinion has been the reigning king for way too long, and I've tried everything else. Sure, everyone knows about using Link and Virtual Desktop to play SteamVR games on your Quest Pro, but Link is hardly synonymous with the best PCVR experience. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to configure your Quest Pro as the centerpiece of a top-tier virtual reality setup complete with index controllers, full body, finger, face, and eye tracking, and all wireless if you want the freedom, or also wired, as I still find wired link can be better for some applications. Beat Saber. The point is, you can have it all wired or wireless, and the future is finally here with this setup. So let's talk about the obstacles we're going to have to overcome to make the Quest Pro work the way we want it to for our PCVR setup. There's 4 obstacles that we're going to overcome. The first is the Quest Pro, when using it on wired link, will slowly run out of battery. And I have a solution for this which we'll cover in just a minute. The second problem that we have is that the Quest Pro does not work natively with any SteamVR or Lighthouse tracking. And a major component of that is just getting these to work, the Valve Index controllers. Now, the Quest Pro controllers are very good. However, it does have some limitations. It does not track as well. I back-to-back playing these on Beat Saber. I definitely prefer the index controllers. Less misses, more precise tracking with the Valve Index controller. This is the premium, and people can disagree with that. Maybe you just like this better, but the fact of the matter is the millimeter precision on this combined with the strap and the finger tracking lets you do more things in more applications than the Quest Pro controllers. I do think they are very good. I don't want to get into that, but I would say most people would agree the Valve Index is the gold standard for PCVR. So if you want to be able to use that, that's an obstacle we're going to have to overcome. Now, some people might say, I don't care about that, but most people who are trying to do any sort of body tracking, device tracking, special gun mounts and things like that, they need Lighthouse tracking in order to do that. So there's a way to do that with this device, which I will show you how to do. The third thing is, even if you do get Steam controllers working, the Quest controllers, the Quest 2 controllers, you could take the batteries out and then it would not interrupt your play session. But with these ones, they have a tendency to turn, even if you hold down the button, you can force them to turn off, but they'll randomly turn on, which can kick your SteamVR devices out of that first spot as the main controller, and then suddenly, your hand's across the room instead of where you thought it was right in the middle of a play session, and that's not what you want. The fourth problem that we need to overcome is we need this to be frictionless. Some of the, I've used a lot of different VR headsets trying to supplant my index. The index is one button, you're in SteamVR, you're off to the races. Everything just works. When you're trying to throw so many add-ons on top of the Quest Pro, Link, all these things, it can cause friction. But I'm going to show you the least amount of friction way to get set up and reliably be able to just put on the headset, push a button, and be right in the game just like you were with a regular SteamVR headset. Now, this video may not be for you if you are not interested in Lighthouse tracking, so if you're not interested in that, I still have the tip on how to keep your your Quest Pro charged while you're using the link cable. Okay, so when you plug the link cable into your PC and you're running it for PCVR, you would think it would stay charged, but it doesn't. And I'm not sure why, because I have seen other headsets able to charge off that, but here's my solution. This is from a company called Minisopuru, and I will put the link to this in the description, but this device right here is pretty cool. So it's basically a little USB-C hub on one end. You can see it's got 4 USB-Cs. This is 10 gig USB-C speeds. But the cool thing about it is it actually has a little display that will tell you how much power it's pulling. And this very last slot is power delivery injection. So you can see it's got a DC in, and you just plug that in. You have a power cable, and what you do is you plug this end into your computer, and then you plug this bottom one that injects the power to your Quest Pro, plug this in, and suddenly you can use Link forever. For as long as you want, your headset's not going to die. In fact, it will charge when you are using this device. So again, link in the description for this piece. Very cool in order to make wired link work. And there's one application that I use wired link for, and that is Beat Saber. Wireless works very well, but the second you're missing, just because you're getting a little bit of stutter just randomly, someone turns on a microwave, who knows what's going on with the wireless signal. The second you miss your beat when you're going for a high score, it's super frustrating, which is why whenever I play Beat Saber, I tend to keep it wired. That's just what you have to do. Any other game, totally fine on wireless. Let's talk about how to get this set up in a way that you can combine your Quest Pro with your Lighthouse SteamVR devices. Okay, so here we are looking at this piece of software called OpenVR Space Calibrator. I will leave the link in the description, so be sure, there'll be lots of stuff in the description, so be sure to check it out. But I really like this version of it, and we'll talk about why. This is kind of a fork, but it's done by BD_, and it is what you want, I promise. So what is this going to do for you? Well, the point of this is what it can do, and I'll move to a larger screen. It will let you take your Quest VR space and the Lighthouse SteamVR VR space, which normally if you're using the headset, it's kind of linked through the headset. But the Lighthouse devices will actually show when SteamVR is on. They just won't be sharing the same XYZ 6 degrees of freedom values as the Quest stuff. It doesn't know how to join them up. It doesn't know how they're supposed to be collaborated with each other. What OpenVR Space Calibrator does is it allows you to basically say, hey, take my headset device in the Quest VR space and combine it with this Lighthouse device in its SteamVR headspace, and we're going to tell them, hey, these guys are in the exact same position, rotationally, every 6 degrees. It's going to say, hey, these are linked, and it will combine the play spaces so that suddenly your headset aligns with your Meta headset is aligning with your index controllers. So the first thing I would do as you're getting started with this is I would use a completely fresh install of SteamVR. It's just going to work better that way. If you're coming from an older headset and you've set up chaperones, if you already had an index and you have chaperones inside SteamVR, I would delete those, start fresh, do not reset up SteamVR boundaries, because when you're using this method on a Quest Pro, they're never going to line up accurately. So what you're going to be doing is using the Quest Pro's boundaries. You know, if you get too close to a wall, let the Quest software tell you, hey, there's where your boundaries are. Don't use the SteamVR chaperones. It's never gonna line up right for you. It will drive you crazy. I finally realized just let the SteamVR boundaries go, and it's gonna be okay. So yeah, let's get back to this software. What you want to do is GitHub is confusing for first-time users of it, I feel like. What you want to do is when you go to that link, you may be like, what do I do here? What you want to do is go to the Releases tab. Click into the Releases. At this point in time, R2 is the most recent, latest release. If there's a newer one, use that, but R2 is what you want. And so all you're going to do is download this exe right here. You're going to run that, and that's automatically going to install a little SteamVR plugin. And so then when you start Link, if you've used Link before, once Link is running, you can open SteamVR and it will automatically take you to the SteamVR environment, and hunky-dory, you can play Steam games. But what this software does is let you map your devices so they're actually where they're supposed to be in space in relation to your headset. So once you have that installed, let me walk you through how this works. Okay, so you've got your headset on, or not on, but you have Link running. You've opened up SteamVR, and now you're sitting there. And what you'll have is a little button. If you're in VR, you'll have a little blue button that's called the OpenVR Space Calibrator. When you click on it, you're going to see this window, and you have everything you need right here. Now, let me talk about this little guy on here. This is a Tundra tracker. You could use a Vive tracker if you wanted. The Tundra's just a little bit smaller. I use this for calibrating the headset to this tracker. You don't have to use this. You don't have to tape this to your Quest Pro like I did. It just makes it that much easier to get going. It's not 100% necessary. I will talk about both ways. The first way I'm going to talk about is ignoring the Tundra tracker. So let's go back to what we're looking at. What you'll be selecting is the Quest Pro, and then what you'll select, you can use either the left or right knuckles. So you'll select, the knuckles right, for example, and pretend you're wearing the headset. You have the knuckles. You're going to hold it as close to your headset as possible and kind of just make sure. They call this like the drunken unicorn dance. What you're going to do is put them together in space, and then you're going to click this button right here, this Start Calibration. So you'll click that, and then you'll kind of keep them linked in space, but turn them a little bit like this. And it's a 15 seconds. It calibrates, and then suddenly your controller inside VR is going to be mapped exactly where it is in your hand, and you're linked up. You don't have to do anything else. If you're using a tracker like this that is literally attached to your headset, you're going to want to do the same thing, but you're going to choose the Quest Pro and the Tundra tracker. You're going to run the calibration, and then that will fix things for you. Once you have one Lighthouse device set up with this, all your other ones you don't have to do it for every device. Once one's done, they all know where to be. So the beauty of this build of VR Space Calibrator is the continuous calibration. So once you're linked in space with your tracker and your headset, if you're using the continuous method, you can then click this button right here, continuous calibration. And what you'll find is if you're just standing in one spot, playing maybe like Half-Life Alyx or Beat Saber, the continuous calibration doesn't really do much for you. You can map your space with the Steam controller once and it doesn't drift very much, you're totally fine. Where continuous calibration really shines if you're playing some sort of social VR game, or a game where you're wandering all around, maybe a shooter that you're kind of leaning a lot, whatever it may be. The continuous calibration, if it detects any drift, it knows that this tracker should be where the headset is. So if it does get drift, because the Quest Pro is using cameras to kind of track where it is in the room, and the Lighthouse is using lighthouses, and the cameras aren't as accurate as the Lighthouse device. So what ends up happening is when the Quest is standing really close to a wall or something, it may not know exactly quite where it is, and then suddenly you think your hand is right here, but the software thinks it's over here, and you don't want that. So the continuous calibration constantly kind of shifts the play spaces to make sure they are set up and with each other. And that's what these kind of bumps and rises that you see right here, peaks and valleys, is it's sensing, oh, it's a little off, let's bring that in a little bit. And that just continuously runs with continuous calibration, and it's seriously like magic. The other good thing about continuous calibration is the fact that when you turn that on, and then when SteamVR opens, it's going to automatically sync your controllers up to your headset without you doing anything. So if you are using continuous calibration, it's literally you open SteamVR, you're done, everything just starts working. It's amazing. If you don't use continuous calibration, you just use, put this get your Quest tracker lined up to your controller. You do that at the start of every play session, and you're good to go. So you don't need to buy a Tundra tracker. It just makes your life a little bit nicer. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about remedying is problem number 3, and that is whenever you're playing SteamVR with the Quest Pro controllers, they have a lithium-ion battery inside them. You can't pull the battery. Quest 2, you could pull the battery, and then none of this mattered because the controller stopped bugging you. However, these Quest Pro controllers, even if you hold down the button to turn them off, they will kind of turn themselves back on periodically, which will bring you, it will screw things up. You'll be in the middle of playing a game, you've got all your Lighthouse, your index controller working, suddenly one of these will kick on, and all of a sudden it takes the place of your index controller as the primary right hand or left hand, and suddenly your game is screwed because your hand is now all the way across the room, or not in the game at all, and it just breaks it. So the solution to this is as follows. We're going to, it is a PowerShell script. You don't have to do this at all. If say you can just use these and still get full body tracking with your other objects by aligning them. But if you want to be using the Valve Index controllers, which if you're watching this guide, that's probably what you're after. Here is the PowerShell script. So I want to give credit to this guy. This is Arrow on the VRCFT forums, and he has written a patch for the Oculus SteamVR driver. And we've got it right here. I have a link in the description below of these already. You would have to go find this Discord server and download it here. However, I have provided a link with a zip file that includes the enable and the disable. So really cool. So if you want to pull it off the screen and make a PowerShell file off it that way, if you don't trust me, that's totally fine. But there is a link with these PowerShell scripts in there. And let me show you what those look like. So you're going to have these, and one is disable Quest controllers and one is enable Quest controllers. And this literally does some hex editing on the DLL. So you have to give permissions to PowerShell for it to be able to operate. But basically, If you want the Quest controllers to work inside SteamVR, this does not affect any of your Quest Pro, your Meta, your standalone games. It doesn't affect anything but SteamVR. So if you want to not have your Quest controllers be active in SteamVR because you know you're always going to be using index controllers, go ahead and right-click this and click Run with PowerShell, and that will modify your DLL so they never bother you again. This is a godsend, I'm telling you. So, and then if you do want to use them, say you're like, I'm not playing anything that I need finger tracking or whatever, I just want to use my Quest Pro controller inside SteamVR, just go to the Enable, right-click that, Run with PowerShell, and restart SteamVR, and you're back up and running with your Quest Pro controllers in SteamVR. Okay, so the final portion of the video, we're going to talk about friction. So this has been a lot of stuff that I'm talking about, but let me explain to you what the process is to have this be completely seamless. Basically, I don't even have to pick up my Quest Pro controllers at all. All I have to do is put on this headset. If you're using AirLink or normal link, whatever you're doing, all you have to do is look at the menu item inside the meta menu and enable link. Once link starts up, all you have to do, if you don't have a tracker on your headset, all you have to do is pick up your index controller and turn it on, and SteamVR will launch. So literally, it's a two operation to get into SteamVR with all your tracking. So headset on, it boots up, turn on link. You can do it with your volume buttons and looking with the little cursor, and then that's going to boot up SteamVR when you hold down a button. And if you're using continuous calibration, I put on the headset, I push this button to turn SteamVR on via the Tundra tracker. SteamVR opens. If you have continuous calibration set up, your system's going to sync. If you don't have continuous calibration, it may have remembered where your devices are, but if you want to dial them in again, you run the Open Space VR Space Calibrator tool, just like we talked about. One thing I should note, if you're using virtual desktop, there is a toggle in virtual desktop which disables the Quest Pro controllers as well, which is great. So you may be wondering, why not just use virtual desktop? Well, the one reason that I would say that Link is better is A, you have a wired option with Link. Virtual desktop is wireless only. AirLink I find works really well. Virtual desktop works really well too. However, if you are using any of the eye or face tracking components, if you're using Link, they do talk to the PC. Virtual desktop does not let the sensors talk to the PC yet, or doesn't even really have plans to. So if you want to be able to have the headset, Valve Index controllers, full body tracking, eye and face tracking, what you're going to have to do is one last thing, and that's the final thing that we're going to cover here. Okay, so you're going to open your Oculus software, and what you'll have to do is in the General tab, you're going to make sure that Oculus is set as the OpenXR runtime. If this isn't set, your eye and face tracking is not going to translate to any application that wants to use it. And then in the beta, you want to turn on eye tracking over Oculus Link and natural facial expressions over Oculus Link. So those are the settings you need to have turned on. But yeah, have all these things turned on, and suddenly you have the ultimate PCVR setup. You've got wired, super clear displays, link over cable. Looks great. I don't know how it looks so good on this device, but it really does. If you look at any reviews of people who are doing it, it just, for some reason, it works really well. I can still make out compression artifacts, but there's so much detail that I'm not too worried about it anymore. And the wireless, there's a little more compression artifacts on it, but it's really a great experience. So yeah, you can have it all. You can have a super high res pancake panel, super clear lenses, finger tracking, body tracking, eye tracking, mouth tracking, and all wireless. It's all here. You can do it if you follow this guide. So hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this helps some of you out and gives you the tools you need to make everything work the way you want it to. If you have questions, go ahead and leave a comment, leave a like, and if you have those questions, I'll respond to the best of my ability. But hopefully this guide's helpful. Again, if you like this, subscribe for more content. We're constantly looking at cool VR stuff and all sorts of things. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.